Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to do something a bit different. I had the idea for the longest time to create a narrative story on YouTube. Write a piece of fiction and tell a story within that world, but I find myself feeling bored quickly when doing so. And for the longest time I didn't know why. But after some soul searching, I think I know. One of my many passions is working on something that is very technical, which is a very broad term, I'll admit, but the main way I like to express this is through writing. And that's when it hit me. The one thing I love to do for hours on end is create worlds. That includes fleshing out the power system, culture, and inhabitants. And that's when I knew what I wanted to do on this channel. In this series, I'm going to create a brand new world with every single video, and then flesh it out as much as possible. Two things before we begin. I am not a professional writer. Hell, I'm barely an amateur one. So there is a chance that my ideas may not be as creative or well thought out. But I think that's okay because that's why I'm doing this in the first place. I want to improve my craft as much as possible. And secondly, as I said before, I am not a professional writer. So don't expect to find any tips or tricks for your own stories. Let me clarify. If you do find something here that you enjoy and want to use it in your own story, feel free to do so. If watching me go through my process helps you go through yours, then I'm glad. But do not expect this channel to be a helpful source, because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So, without further ado, let's begin. The series I'll be exploring this week is named Chrono-Stasis. The story of Chrono-Stasis takes place on the Strip, named for obvious reasons. However, all life does not begin on the Strip. It does begin on Grey Genesis. Grey Genesis is a small archipelago found on the offshores of the Strip. The ancestors of the modern man walked across the archipelago to the mainland during the last ice age, when the bridge of ice connected the two. Some stayed, however. However, the ones who did leave found themselves on the Strip, and to survive the ice age, they hauled up together in caves and mountains. It is then that they discovered the Chrono Droop. The Chrono Droop is a fruit-shaped object that has a hard exterior but a semi-liquid interior. If ignited, the liquid within releases. The semi-liquid within has the ability to reverse or forward time in increments of either minutes, hours, days, or years. There exists two variations. Chrono Droops that exist within caves have the ability to forward time and usually have a red hue to them, and Chrono Droops found within the forest can reverse time and usually have a blue hue to them. For that reason, most people call them blues or reds. When you consider the harsh habitat and the deadly creatures that roamed, they had no other choice than to use them to survive. To increase their manpower, they would use Chrono Droops to turn their children into adults, a technique now seen as barbaric. Once they felt adept enough, some branched off to explore other corners of the Strip. However, some did stay, and together they formed a human state. This state is composed of several cities, such as Black Briny, Blue Briny, and their capital city, Pink Paddock. Once the Ice Age ended, they created an impressive naval ship system, and they used their ships to develop faster than any other race. The human state was eventually renamed after its capital, Pink Paddock. Some humans continued south, and it's there they encountered the Timeless God. The Timeless God is a supposed messiah who preached the word and the true nature of the Chrono Droop. In his own philosophy, the universe is like a river. It has its own predisposed nature or flow. Therefore, everything it does is preordained. Following his philosophy, the nomads broke off into two tribes. One tribe went to live off on a secluded island in the middle of the Strip. They eventually named their city Navy Nautical. Navy Nautical is a small island composed entirely of luscious tall trees, and there that tribe decided to make their home on top of the trees. And with time, they eventually adapted to it. These humans evolved monkey-like features. Their appearance vary, however, they usually have an excess amount of fur and sharp teeth. With time, the humans called them the Furs. The Furs followed the ways of the timeless god. However, they did it in their own way, taking a more relaxed approach to their lives. Same cannot be said about the other tribe. They migrated a bit more north and founded the nation-state of Amber Arid. There, they constructed large monuments to their god, pillars that went high above the clouds. These pillars became their homes and their only protection, seeing that the Amber Arid is mostly desert. They too eventually evolved, and they grew extra skin between their arms, fingers, and legs, which allowed them to glide between pillars. Eventually, the humans called them the Gliders. However, some nomads rejected the timeless god and kept moving south. They eventually found their way onto a land which was made of ice and lava. They eventually stayed and composed the nation-state of Crimson Coulee. With time, they also evolved. Extreme exposure to the volcano eventually changed their biology. All their hair fell out and their skin became rough as stone. They eventually made cities underneath the volcano, which with time made them shorter. However, their stature was eventually compensated with increased strength. With time, the humans called them the Scorched. With their naval system, trade and barter became very lucrative for the humans, which only increased their economic, social, and political rise. This drastic divide eventually created the belief that humans were superior. The humans obtained a quiet hegemony and imposed their will on the other races. Eventually, the Scorched had enough, and in an effort to reach their complete economic and political independence, they went to war with the humans. They formed the United Front, and with a sect of excommunicated gliders, they fought back. The humans, with the help of the Furs and the religious gliders, formed the Central Axis. This war allowed the humans to advance their military to astounding degrees. They mainly had two weapons, K-blades and K-arms. K-blades were swords who, through the use of Chrono-Droop, could change the shape of a blade to a previous state. This mostly took the form of either straight to curved blades. However, more experienced and eccentric fighters could do more creative things. Then you had K-arms, which were guns which could shoot Chrono-Droop to various effects. After a costly battle, eventually the Central Axis won, and wanting to put all their past grudges to the side, they eventually took all their nation-states to form one unified state, known simply as the Unified Strip. In this era, peace was more stable than ever. Furthermore, scientific advancement using Chrono-Droop became widespread. Eventually, some areas industrialized, mainly cities populated by humans. However, tension still grows. Several militia groups exist, with their ultimate goal to undo the United Strip. But the main issue on everyone's radar is an event simply called the Time Storms. Time Storms are clouds made entirely of semi-liquid Chrono-Droop, and in their wake, they leave a truly bizarre scene. The Time Storm hits cities that used to be battlegrounds, and due to the combination of reds and blues, it forces a chimera reaction which rises the dead soldiers, as these undead soldiers replay their battles during the war. A reaction no one knew was possible, and casualties keep rising as cities keep getting caught in between the battles of these undead soldiers. These time storms have never happened before, which has caused some people to question their origin. Some believe it's the actions of the timeless God. However, others believe the answer is more human. And this is where the history of Chronostasis ends. I don't have any characters written down because, as I said before, this is more of an exercise in world building and lore. I do have other lore details in mind, mostly on how the chrono drupes would affect everyday life. For instance, medically, you could use them to reverse wounds. Socially, some people would use them to look a lot younger. However, there is a stigma attached to this action, because this would make you look vain in the eyes of others. Due to their use in prehistory when it came to children, it is now outlawed for anyone under the age of 18 to use a chrono drupe, unless they get permission from a parent or authority figure. There would also be a strong emphasis on a scientific aspect, as several public and governmental labs try their best to advance and understand chrono drupe application. There would also be an emphasis on how chrono drupes have a strong grip on the economy, and how this nature of reliance has led to a corrupt system. And this is all I have for Chronostasis. I might come back to it and make a part 2 when I fleshed out the world and characters a bit more. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoy this type of content, please let me know and I'll make more. Have a nice day, stay safe, and see you in the next one.